we will be able to go live together. Yes, this is your microphone and that is your headset. Trying to look for the song.
Now who you go trust when I put me on leaders? Liars and cheaters, leave the ultimate winners. Prosperity worship, now I'm on to instead of okay, you guys have like a WhatsApp line.
Yes, we do. But we just have WhatsApp family members sending messages at any time. Just the right amount of energy you need on a Saturday morning on Smooth 98.1 Cash and Carry by Bantu music right here on Smooth 98.1. It's 9 minutes past 9 o'clock, and this is the part we call Smooth Explorer. So every Saturday between 9 till 10, we explore lots of things, lots of music, and then on days like this, we get to explore the life of our guest. Now, to begin with, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, smooth 981 FM Lagos. That allows you to see my face and the face of my guest, to save the video, the stream, and also to share with your family and friends and have a good time all together. It also allows you to go back to that video. Maybe there was something that was mentioned, or was something you'd like to say, or maybe even screenshot a part and then keep it. That is what the YouTube channel is available for. That said, if you follow us across all social media platforms and you are part of our WhatsApp family, you would have seen the flyer that is on Instagram at Smooth981, on Twitter at Smooth981, and on WhatsApp. It is 0809 So you should send your name and contact. We'll save your contact, and going forward, you can view our status because you will be inducted into the Cozy Smooth family. 0809 Now, I might not be David Letterman, but I feel my next guest needs no introduction because you have heard his music already. And then he is one thing that comes to mind when I hear his name is activism. It is social reform, it is change, it is energy. I think of the horns as well, and I think of diversity when it concerns music. He is a Nigerian German musician, just for the records. He's a producer, he's a songwriter, he's a lover of art, he's a preserver of history and culture. He is a frontman of the 13-piece band that is Bantu. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, put your hands together for Ade Bantu. Come on. Oh, where's a round of applause? Please, where is that? Yeah. There you go. Good morning. Thank
Good
you.
morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's totally a pleasure. Now, this is my own curiosity. The first thing I've said I wanted to ask you when I get to see you is, why did the dreads go?
The dreads had to go after 20 plus years. I just felt I needed a change. And yeah, I had to let go of my past and open up to new opportunities and possibilities. So I decided to kind of reinvent myself as well.
Mm. But how did it dread start actually? Maybe we should go back to the beginning.
How did the dread start? So it wasn't on Vogue like now. So nowadays you have pretty much everyone, say from a Uber driver to a footballer to a lawyer to an architect, everyone rocking dreads. Back then, people used to frown upon dreads, and it was me trying to make a statement as a young adult. I just wanted to say we need to celebrate Black Pride. We need to understand that the notion of beauty is something that was imposed on us by the Europeans that came to destroy our culture and our religions and our philosophies of communalism. And so I just felt that the dreads represented that. And it's also me connecting to the Mau Mau movement in Kenya, the resistance movement against colonial oppression back then. They all had dreadlocks. And obviously, I listened to Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. So all of that kind of played into my idea of wanting to represent Africa in its true essence with my dreadlocks.
Now, if you go by the dictionary definition or whatever it is we were taught in social studies, you will hear culture is the way of life. But to you personally, and going by what you do, what drives your song, your art, what you do, how would you define culture?
How would I define culture? That's a tough one. I think it's ultimately the essence of a community, the essence of a nation, the essence of a people, and it is what binds everyone. But it is also something that is not static. It shouldn't be static. It should go with the times. It should be open to change, to new influences. But it is deeply rooted in a common identity that is shared by all.
So, with that said, for Nigeria, where would you say our culture is at?
Where, where's our culture? Nigeria is a very diverse nation. It's a nation state that was put together by people that came from outside with very weird ideas and concepts, you know. And ever since we were kind of like forced to amalgate, we've never really gotten to the point where we've come to a common agreement, you know. We're kind of like tolerating each other, and that is the problem, you know, and we know very little of each other. The majority of Nigerians haven't really traveled around Nigeria. So the common identity is shared maybe when Nigeria is playing football. And that's about it, you know. So it's very, very cliched when it comes to what we think of one another. You know, the Yoruba man has his ideas of, say, the Hausa, the Igbo, vice versa, you know. So there's a lot of work to be done. So I don't think there's a shared culture as such. There's an ambition towards a nation state, but it's still a work in progress. And at the moment, we're at the brink, or you know, and you can tell we're at our breaking point as a
And that brings me to the question. Your upcoming album, I believe, is what is your breaking point? Please walk us through the process, how that title came about, and the many pieces you have there.
So I had to ask the question, you know, there's a certain elasticity that comes with being Nigerian, you know, we just absorb all this pressure, you know, look at where we are now. There's fuel subsidy that's been removed. People can barely survive. And when you look at basic income, it's not like they've increased basic income, minimum wage. How do people really want to survive, you know? And all the challenges we've been going through, you know, not being able to access cash a few weeks back, you
Mm,
know, and the rate of inflation and what have you not. You know, our backs are against the wall, yet still Nigerians shrug their shoulders and they move on with that spirit of, yeah, it go better, you know. And I keep asking, like, when are we going to just turn the other way and just be like, you know what, we're done, we've had it. Like, let's just bring everything down, chaos or whatever you want to call it, revolution, what, whatever you want to call it. I just feel like we absorb too much and we just feel like how long can we take all of this? So that's why I had to go and reflect on it. So I wrote this album called What is Your Breaking Point? And we have different songs exploring it, songs like Wayo and Division. We have songs like Nami Oh My Body about women rights, my singers sing about that. We have other songs like Your Silence Will Not Protect You, because a lot of people look away and they're like, waiting concern me, waiting they happen for Chibok or what's happening in the East or in Kano or Kaduna. So we're just like, let us try to investigate where we are as a nation or as Africans, because Bantu, we see ourselves as Pan-Africanists. So our music, our philosophy, our lyrics, it's not only about the Nigerian perspective. We're looking at what's happening. Look at Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea Conakry. You have military men taking over and destroying democracies, and we have very fragile democracy in West Africa, or if you see what's happening in Sudan. So they're taking us 10 steps backwards. And we have a song called 10 Steps Backwards.
Now, speaking of Bantu, a name that some might not understand is born out of something which I would want you to explain and which you're particular about. How did Bantu, because it's easy to say, okay, his name is Ade Bantu. Bantu is a surname. How did Bantu come about?
So Bantu came about when we started the group about 26 years ago. So it was just us, a bunch of kids, I would say, lovers of hip hop and dance hall and soul, whatever you not. We wanted to form our own Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan was big back then. It was a collective of different rappers, Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, RZA, whatever you not. Anyways, I won't say they were role models, but we just like the idea of a collective. So my brother Abiodun, a friend of ours, Amechi, and another friend, Sierra Leonean German, and Patrice, we decided to form a group, a loose collective, and the name Bantu was suggested to honor Steve Bantu Biko. And then we evolved the idea to an acronym for Brotherhood Alliance, navigating towards unity. And that's how the name for the band, Bantu, kind of evolved or developed. And over time, people started calling me Ade Bantu. A friend of mine, Alariwo of Africa, shout out to him, a musician as well. He started calling me Ade Bantu. Obviously, we have millions of Ades, and it kind of stuck. And that's how people started calling me Ade Bantu. And yeah, I love it because there's only one Ade Bantu on this planet,
Yeah.
right? But Ade Bantu is not an artist, like we were saying
Yeah.
before the show started. A lot of people confuse it. I've never been a solo artist, have no ambitions to be a solo artist. I love working in collectives because it brings out the best in each and every one of us.
That is beautiful. Now, talking about that, let's listen to one of the songs from What's Your Breaking Point, I believe. And no, this is not from the solo artist. There is no solo artist when it concerns Bantu. This is from Bantu. It's titled Wayo and Division. And chances are that if you have been listening to the Casbah, you would have heard it. But if you have not, well, this is your chance and your time to set a reminder that every weekday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., you get to listen to music beyond borders, beyond genres even, on Smooth 98.1. So from Bantu, here is Wayu and Division. That is quite enlightening.
This
Um,
is beautiful. I was just trying to keep my sentences short because I was like, she's going to interrupt you now. She's going to
no,
interrupt. No, no, and you're just like, oh, okay,
do your
I'm
thing.
listening. I'm like, okay, nice, wonderful.
It's so the idea of the show is to explore not just music, so we get to have different kinds of music pulled together, but also when we get to have guests, it's about you. That's why we call it Smooth Explorer, to explore. So things that ordinarily a person might not hear about you, maybe one read about you on your social media page or have no idea. So you get to reveal it. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we call it more of a chat and not necessarily an interview.
How long have you been there?
3 years.
What's your background? You did radio before this? This is
Nah.
your first gig,
Okay,
your
so I
first
did.
radio gig.
Yeah, this is my first radio, but before now I was on TV. Yeah. Yeah, but before TV, I was a dietitian. Yeah, totally miles and worlds apart.
Wow.
It was just a hobby. It was an interest more like, and I felt why not make something out of it? And that was how I got
So you only do radio now, but you still do your dietitian stuff.
no. So what I did was try to find a bridge, and the bridge is I get to have shows that talk about health. So I bring those people. So it's so interesting that some of my classmates back in school that are now practicing, I bring them to talk. So you do the talking, I do the moderating. Yeah,
So you're on every day, Mondays to Saturday.
exactly. But it's a different show on Mondays to Fridays. It's strictly soul, so that's more about soul.
Okay, okay, so you're more focused on songs.
Yes, on Mondays to Fridays.
Okay, so
That's
you
why.
all the classics and the new releases as well.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of digging.
Actually, yeah, yeah.
I wanted to say that is like a whole universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. It's yeah, it's fun. That's the best
But it's also good because you look at it from a distance because it's not like you grew up with say Curtis Mayfield or Marvin Gaye, all that. And so you're another generation, which is always good. You bring a fresh perspective.
yeah. And I do sometimes envy people who grew up during that era.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I'm like, you got to listen to those things in real time. The memories it created, no matter how much I read and watch videos, documentaries, it can be like where those people. Can imagine you going to a Spooky Robinson concert or the Supreme concert. That must have been so much. So I'm like, no, you guys got to have the good times. Because now you only have people who are trying to salvage music.
Yeah, even in the soul genre, there's not that much from it.
No, not at all. It's always how the songs end for me. So lovely. Why you and Division Vibe Bantu right here? It's like you know it's coming, and yes, you don't want it to end. And that is why I do not get why we have songs that are less than 3 minutes these days, because it's a dish you want to savour. You want to chew and then extract the flavor. So why would anyone want to have songs below 3 minutes? But then again, they said it's because of the audience. So hey, we'll take it. That is good. That is 3 minutes 50 seconds. So that is good enough for me. And that is from the upcoming album What Is Your Breaking Points by Bantu. My guest this morning is Ade of the Bantu crew. I think that is the best way to put it since you know.
Whoa, that's a nice one. If you ever had that kind of introduction, everyone goes Ade Bantu, but you're like Ade of the Bantu crew. I
Yeah.
like that.
You can join us on YouTube, by the way. It is youtube.com/smooth92 FM Lagos. Again, youtube.com/smooth92 FM Lagos. And you can also drop your comments on whatever it is you'd like to see on WhatsApp. That is 0809 444 0981. There was something you said in that song I'd like you to put more light on about nothing like religion or yeah, thereabout
Yeah,
along that lines.
it's about the smoke screen, when it comes to the people ruling the nation or the down pressers, as I like to call them, people that want to make sure that we're not only oppressed, but we're down pressed. When you see they play us with religion, against one another, they use try to agitate people to kind of like make us mistrust one another, So we're all very suspicious of the next man because he's not from our ethnic group. But when they're sharing the money, when they're sharing the big contracts, there's nothing like track, it's nothing like religion. So, it's a smoke screen. And we need to understand that, we shouldn't play into their hands. And that's why I wrote this song.
You write lots of songs. In fact, I can't think of any of your songs that is not about activism, change. Well, that's the best way I can. It's about getting the people to wake up, look at this, see this thing from another perspective. So that brings me to a question about music and change. When you set out to do this kind of music with your group, what was the aim? Is it directed towards the people at the affairs or the people ruling or the people who are there to wake up to the power they have? What was the aim of many of the songs you produced and, of course, still producing?
So, before I answer your question, I think it's important to note that I was politicized by music. And why do I say so? Because I grew up listening to people like Sonny Okoso and Fire and Soweto.
Hmm.
That gave me my first introduction to the politics, apartheid politics of South Africa. I'm a young child, 7, 8 years old, and I hear this fire in Soweto, and I ask my parents, where's Soweto? And then they explain what is happening there. I listen to Bob Marley. I listen to James Brown, Black and Proud. I listen to Marvin Gaye, What's Going On?
Yeah.
My parents play them, right? So you start asking questions, and then they're pointers, and then you see the TV, you see the Brixton Uprising, you see uprisings in Harlem, you see different flashpoints, outside your immediate vicinity, Lagos or Nigeria, what have you not? And then obviously there's Fela Kuti and all of that. And then fast forward me as a teenager growing up with rap music, and then I have groups like Public Enemy, Grandmaster Flash, and they kind of like introduced me to the realities of being black in urban environments or
Yeah.
in America in general. So all of this informed who I became, and it shaped my worldview, and it made me understand that music is very, very powerful. It's a powerful tool to emancipate, to enlighten, to empower. And I felt it's my obligation to follow the footsteps of those elders that kind of like introduced me to so many worlds and to the realities on ground. And in particular, when it comes to Nigeria, I think it's important to document our times, right? So, what happens fast forward, say 20, 30 years, and my grandchild comes to me and says, Hey, Dad, there was this fuel subsidy issue here. What did you do? How was it like? And I say, Hey, I wrote a song just to capture the energy, um, the angst, the fear, the restlessness around, and it's very important because I feel like not enough is being done there. And if we're not telling our stories, then people from outside will do it. Look at the elections now. When the elections were on, all the major publications from outside the country, the New York Times, the New Yorker, Guardian, UK, and Japanese publications, media houses, everyone was talking about the volatile state of the nation, everything. Now, fast forward, we have a government that has now taken over, and nobody's reporting about the inauguration of our current president. We might have opposing views, but the fact that they only report when there's a calamity already shows you that they are the ones dictating the tune.
Wow, that is another aspect of music. We use it for entertainment. We use it to keep ourselves just in the moment, feel good. But then documenting, that is another side I didn't think about. That is so lovely. Now let's talk about Nami Own My Body. It's self-explanatory, but I still want to hear it from you. How did that song come about?
I always felt that Afrobeat never really gave women an agency.
Hmm.
It's always very male dominated, and it's always the patriarchy, and its cliches. And I felt for this song, I needed to take a back seat. My female singers in my band, we had long conversations. I was reading Alice Walker and then also bell hooks and some black female writers. I've always been a fan of black female writers, anyways, be they African American, Nigerian, or whatever you not. And I always just felt like, you know what, we need to do something here. I was hearing this song, for years, I wouldn't lie, for maybe the last 3, 4 years, like an anthem for women. So we bounced ideas back and forth. We started around the chorus, and then the song evolved, and it was very interesting because I do most of the writing of the lyrics, right, of our songs. But for this one, I was like, you know what? I just have to trust, and I have to let go, and I have to respect what the women in my band are going to come up with. So when they were like, "Oh, do you want to collaborate as a songwriter on this one?" I said, "No." I said, "You guys do it. I just trust you." And they came up with very interesting and very empowering lyrics, and their perspective is so, I mean, so refreshing, And then we invited a very good friend of ours, the American rapper Akua Naru, and to come lay some rap verses, and she just completely, utterly killed it. I mean, the way she flows on the Afro beat, every time I hear it, I'm like, and we also had to comment on Buhari's statement when he was giving a press conference with Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, then German chancellor. You can really see the terror in her eyes. She's like, "What is he saying?" When he said, "My wife belongs in the kitchen or the other room." It was more than a gaffe. I think it was just so painful to hear from somebody, of his stature. And then you see America and women being denied their rights when it comes to abortion rights and all that. We can have different opinions, yeah, but the Supreme Court ruling is about to be overturned. And that is a problem, in a democracy like that. When women don't have a say when it comes to their bodies and their choices, why is it that we men are always the ones making decisions for them? We need to listen more. And I grew up around very strong women. My grandmother was a very successful market woman in Bagi in Ibadan. Sent her kids to university. She didn't have the opportunity to go to school, but she made sure everyone was educated. She worked very hard as a single mother of four. So when you grow around those people, it rubs off you. You don't see weak women. You see very, very strong women. And I see them every day here in Lagos, here in Nigeria. So now them own their body, and we men, we must listen.
Okay, feel that energy, feel the adrenaline, and that is Bantu featuring Aquanaru. That is Nami on my body. Okay, so I'm trying to get that up, and I think it should come up while that is going on. Before a question I wanted to ask is your music is not limited. You can't put it in a box. The music Bantu.
No, it's not possible at all because Bantu has always been about representing where we are at a particular time. We're a 13-piece band. Yeah, we have the horns, it's Afro funk, it's Afro beats, it has a bit of soul, it has hip hop because I come from a rap background. So obviously I rap as well. So that's not really a problem. We're also big lovers of reggae music, jazz, high life, Yoruba music. So it would always come to play. I think it's also based on the fact that the way we write music is we write as a collective. So I might come with a melody or some lyrics ideas, but then we sit down at the rehearsal room and we actually start composing together. So the talking drummer has to bring his own idea to the table. The drummer does the same, the keyboardist and the bass player, and we now take the best ideas to form the song. So, and this is really something special that I think very few people do.
Actually, I agree. It's very few. And speaking of which, where do you think the music industry right now in Nigeria is? I mean, you can agree that it has gotten more acceptance, especially in the funkifying of Afrobeat. We have Afropop. But where do you think the music industry is in terms of preservation, longevity?
I think this is the most exciting times ever in the history of African music. And you have a situation where we are global pop players. We're in the top 10 charts of the biggest pop market in the universe, America. We're in the pop markets and charts in Germany, in Japan, in the UK. So the whole world is listening, and it's just beautiful to see. And a lot of doors are opening, and I love the fearlessness of this young generation. The way they just go out and claim their spots. And that is something that you didn't have with the older generation. When you look at outliers like Mariam Makeba, Efela, maybe Sonny Ade. That was about it. There wasn't a lot of space. And what they would do was they would bundle you with artists from Colombia, from India, from somewhere in Asia. They would just bundle you and call all of you world's
World
music.
music,
A
actually.
very, very annoying and very colonial terminology. And now seeing a Burner Boy, just playing Madison Square Garden. He's playing, I think, one of the this important football events. Sorry, guys, I don't want to disappoint you. I'm not a big football fan. Okay, I'm about to die here. Anyways, you have you have Burner Boy representing us and making us proud. So it's just beautiful to see. What I just would hope would be for more diversity. So I don't want it to become formulaic, to just walk around one formula. Because as you were alluding to earlier on, the songs are all based around a hook line, a chorus, and then a bridge, a second or a third chorus. And that's about it. The verses now become a bit problematic. It's a different way of writing music. But what I'm just hoping is that the kids that likes to play the guitar, that is a singer songwriter, will not feel discouraged. The other kids that feels like adding elements of reggae, that feels like being political, feels like being maybe more philosophical, that they will not be discouraged and they'll be like, nobody will listen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're such a diverse people and we've always been. Growing up, I remember my uncle would be listening to country music. When you were in his car, you had one uncle that was obsessed with country music. You had an aunt that loved her jazz. Then you had somebody that was a totally outlier. He'll be listening only to South African and Congolese music. And I feel a lot of people aren't really exposed to that anymore, growing up as young um, listeners. And the palette is enriched by diversity. That makes you open to other cultures. That makes you curious. You want to read about them. You start reading different African authors. Music takes you on a journey.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
it
done a
does.
lot of talking now.
No, I am just enjoying it. When you get to sit with a person, it's one thing for you to ask a question, it's another for the person to talk about what they enjoy talking about. And that is what the show is about. Just for you to first to get a sneak peek into your mind, into your journey, into the embodiment and what produces. So it's like you're taking us to the fountain and we are just sitting at the elders' feet and drinking. Speaking of which, I think there was one of the I do remember, but I remember seeing a flyer that had you and the legendary Jimmy Shulanke. That
Yeah.
what program was that again?
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
I produced a documentary film called Elders Corner, The History of Nigeria, told through the music and lives of our music legends.
Yeah.
It was directed by a very good friend of mine, Shiji Awayinka. And Shiji is also a musician. I think you guys play him occasionally. He does what he calls Yoruba soul. So it's beautiful. It's like almost listening to Marvin Gaye sing in Yoruba. And Shiji has been doing this for a while. Anyways, when we both started this journey, it's now about 11 years ago, we felt like we need to do a documentary about these musicians that influenced the country, ever since even pre-independence till now, and what has their life been like, and the ups and downs, and what have you not. So we started with a very good friend, Fatai Rolling Dollar, with whom I
Rest.
recorded of blessed memory. It
Yeah.
was just, I mean, the coolest and funkiest 70-year-old I'd ever met in my life. He was just so full of energy. So we interviewed him, and then he had his stories. And from there, we now proceeded to interview other people, people like Ebenezer Obey, Chimisholanke, as you mentioned. And then we said, let's go east. We spoke to the Ikenga Superstars,
Mm.
Oriental Brothers, Mary Afi Osua, who many people might not know, but who was like a big, big artist in the 70s. She was taken to Italy to study music. So she's one of the few Nigerian classically trained
Wow.
vocalists. She went to a music conservatory. She got offered a television show in Italy. This is 1970, prime time, to do her own review, her own show. She was on tour with Duke Ellington, Aretha Franklin. I mean, this is like our big mega star. And then when she was even telling us, we were like, this woman is just
Really?
fabricating stories. Yeah, this can't be real. And then we did our digging. We went into the archives, and all she said was true. So the Lijadun sisters, we had
Yeah.
them. So we pretty much had everyone. Victor Wifo, who was just, I mean, cracking us up the whole day, so full of energy, and Victor Olaya, just
Yeah.
to mention a few. So what happened was we just naively took our camera and just went about interviewing them. We thought, oh, we'll be done in a year or two. We worked on this project for close to 10 years.
Whoa.
Yes. But we have amazing footage. We took them to the studio. My band, Bantu, backed all of them. So you have like, say, an Ebenezer Obey doing an acoustic rendition of his classics, just guitar and percussion. So taking juju music back to its origins, and those are like the golden moments. And he sits behind the desk and he says, Decca Music, I am the one that made this label. And you see all the different records stacked and everything. So it was just beautiful. It's been doing the festival rounds. So the past 2 years, 3 years, it's been going from one film festival to the other, and we hope that we'll get it to be on one of the streaming platforms soon, so that more people can watch it. But it's definitely worth and checking out Elders Corner.
That is beautiful. I mean, as you mentioned those names, it was like your childhood show, your childhood, the voices of your childhood. And no, it's lovely. We should all get to see that more because it is not just music, it is not just documentary, but it is culture and history preserved. And that is a beautiful thing about what we have these days, technology. You can be alive in the 2000s and go back to the 60s, and everything is just good for you. So thank you for doing that.
No, it's definitely a passion project, and we caught the documentary bug, so we're already working on two other documentaries at the moment.
Speaking of bug, I think you're going on concert or in tour soon
Yes, yes. What that has to do with bug? Oh,
because during the COVID, everything was grounded.
very true. Oh, okay. Now I know what you're alluding to. Yes, so interestingly, our album that we released prior to this one, Everybody Gets Agenda, that album did very well. It was on the European World Music Charts, and another terminology. And it kind of gained momentum because what had happened was when I moved back to Nigeria, a bit of a backstory, I kind of like wasn't really interested in the European market. I was like, I'm back to Nigeria. I don't care if people listen to my music in Europe. And then at some point, I'm like, I don't know if this is working to my advantage. So I released this album during the pandemic, and it was receiving a lot of positive and very good feedback, right? But we couldn't tour. So the people started requesting, "Oh, do you want to come do a show?" No, you have to make sure that everybody gets a COVID test. Then when you come to Germany, you have to isolate in a hotel for another 5 days, and then do another COVID test. Then from venue to venue. And by the way, we're not even sure if we can allow more than 50 to 100 people to come watch you. When you do the maths, you're like, listen, who's going to pay for all of this? So we couldn't tour. And now with this new album, we can finally hit the road. So and we're going to be doing 18 dates in Germany, and then come back and then do a few other dates in Europe as well. And then hopefully, knock on wood, we'll do the States as well because we've never done the States. And I'm really excited, especially just going out there and playing festivals. I'm just a sucker for festivals when I'm on stage. I don't like being amongst 100 or
Really?
150,000 people. No, I get panic attacks. I keep telling people
Wow.
that's a reason why I do music. I want to be on that stage. I don't want to be down there and having people crush me and be smelling all kinds of body odors. Man, I'm not a big fan of that.
Okay, then we definitely wish you all the best with the tour, and we hope that you have the time of your life as always, and that when you're on the stage, you see the people bopping and shaking and catching the frenzy, and of course moving. That You're fulfilled as always. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So this is about where we actually have to say we're out of time because it's 46.
Wow.
Yeah,
So we've actually been talking this
we
long.
have been talking. Now, before I let you go, there is something I'm curious about. What's the thought line between behind Admirers and Admirets?
We started calling ourselves Agberos International, the Tush Agberos, since we always identified with the streets kind of in our own philosophical way. And then we had to come up with Agberets, to represent the ladies,
That is so classy.
I'm an Agberet. Come on. Don't mess with me, when they look at you all gangster with a sweet voice, but don't mess with her, it might get ugly.
Oh wow, that is so. I mean, street never sounded so classy and refined. Interesting, and that is only something Bantu Crew can do. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I've had a blast. I've had a blast. I think I should still be able to pull up Nami on my body. Definitely. And then this is one of the reasons why you should always listen to Cast about 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. every weekday. You get to have a blend of all the finest music. We don't call it world music, we call it music beyond borders because it's not just about being lumped in the category. We have our music. This is our culture. This is who we are. Then no one can define it for us. So thank you for choosing Smooth 98.1. Now we are done, but we're never done here. So now, although Smooth Breakfast in Bed is done for today, on the other side, you will listen to the more music, and then 11 o'clock, you'll listen to the football show on a Saturday morning from 11. And when we are done, you listen to lots of other music. And then at 9 p.m., all the reggae lovers come in and enjoy the time of your life on the reggae show. And tomorrow you get to listen to more and more because we love music and we love life. Keep up with us across all social media platforms. And speaking of social media, yes, you're on social media.
Yes, at Bantu Crew on all platforms, at Ade Bantu on all platforms. That was like real quick, right?
Yeah.
And bantucrew.com for our website. We're one of those few bands that still actually maintain a website. Can you imagine?
That is good because sometimes you want to have an understanding or have an idea of the journey of a band and you have no idea. It's basically people just giving their ideas of what the band is. So I think it's good.
I couldn't have said it better.
Okay. We are done. We are done for real because if we should have another second, we will extend this conversation. But this is one of those songs that actually disrupted the airwaves. This is Disrupt the Program by Bantu.
This was beautiful. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. I had a blast. Thank
This was
you.
nice.
Okay.
We should get somebody to take a picture. There's no one in the building.
Nope.
Okay.
No one. No
Wow.
one. No one. So no, typically I do have people call me, but thank you. So okay, let me end the stream. I don't think the crew was but if they do, yeah. So what end.